Yo, yo, yo.
Hey, Dan McMahon, how are you?
Good. How are you, man?
I'm good. I'm good. Are you still in the car?
No, no. We got home about 20 minutes ago.
Oh, good. Good.
Yeah.
Made it back safe and sound?
Safe and sound. Had a Yeah. It was kind of nice. Like it's a fairly long drive, but it goes kind of fast. We had this storm when we left Chicago, but after a half hour, maybe like closer to an hour, like roads just opened up like really dry and um, we had the sunshine and we were able to fly along nicely. We made pretty good time down there, even with a couple little stops, and then coming back, um, we made good time as well. So um, yeah, and it was we got to leave early enough, not super early. We actually left a little late, I should say, but we only drove like after dark for like 2 or 3 hours.
How were the races?
It was we had a blast. We were
Mm-hmm.
just there for fun, obviously,
Sure.
just having a good time, and wanted to get out of town a little bit, and obviously, see the world champs. So we had a blast. The racing was interesting.
Oh, hold on, Danny. You
Like,
know what? Give me a second. Hold on. Hold
yep,
on. Wait.
no worries,
Wait a second.
no worries.
You ready?
Yep. Oh, oh,
Danny,
hey, I
how
see what you did there.
how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I we were exchanging texts all day today. Um,
Oh, was that you? Just
oh,
kidding.
and we were talking about some potential guests. I mean, we won't go into who they are or what they are or where they come from, but we're just talking about the possibility of starting to invite some people onto the show.
That's
And
right.
and you know, I realized that we're going to have to call them. We're going to have to, make a phone call to them, and there are some technical aspects to that. And we
Yes.
have the equipment. We have all this cool equipment, Danny, to do
Yes.
those things. And I figured, well, why don't we kill two birds with one stone? And I try it out with you on the phone and see if we can
I love
actually
it.
accomplish this. And it looks so far, it looks good. I'll let you know once I load this file and see what we have here. But it seems to be working. And Danny,
Hey.
all right, we had a little technical issue. And that's why we're doing this is to work out all the kinks and present a better show for our listeners, for our 26 listeners. Danny, I think we had 26. We have 26
Ooh.
downloads of our last podcast, and so this
Wow.
thing's getting really hot, man.
That's great news. I guess if we look at it in terms of how it's multiplying, that's pretty cool.
No, it's not bad. It was 16 before, so I mean 20
Okay.
26 now. So you know,
All right.
something's happening.
Yeah,
There's
that's great. And
some someone we know is not listen. Someone we don't know is listening to this show. So
mhm.
that's very promising. So yeah,
Well, we appreciate anyone who takes the time to check us out and see if they dig what we have to say and come with us on this journey around a hypothetical journey around France, I guess, and our IRL journey in Chicago.
man, you got deep on me. I just,
I, di- I didn't mean to.
I just wanted to test it. Here I am just really just doing an audio test and making sure that we can do this, and you get all deep on me and pretend
Well,
like we're doing
I'm
something serious. And I'm just trying to pawn this thing off as as a mini podcast.
well. You caught me coming off a road trip from
Hmm.
Fayetteville, Arkansas
That's
today.
right. From the Cyclocross World Championships, the
Hmm.
Walmart Cyclocross World Championships in beautiful Fayetteville, Arkansas. From what I saw from in photos, it is kind of beautiful down there.
we had a great time. It was a fantastic weekend. So you
Wow.
caught me off a road trip, just back in the door. I'm not even back in the door an hour. And
Mm-hmm.
when you're on the road and driving all those hours, Sarah drove half the way, which was great. But when you're on the road like that, you start to go into like, I don't know, you go into that kind of zone where you start to think about things and you question, the meaning of life. And we listen to a couple really cool podcasts, and you get in that kind of like almost meditative state.
Sure.
So that's where he got me here. So yeah, I'm just unwinding with a brewski and just in the door, played with the cat a little bit,
What podcasts?
and
What podcasts were you listening to? Just curious.
we listen. We listen to a ton of episodes from the Smartless podcast. Do you know the
Mm-hmm.
Smartless podcast?
Nope, not familiar with it.
Okay, so it is three guys, all of whom you would probably know. It's Jason Bateman,
Oh, I like that guy.
of course you do. Everybody loves him. And then it's Will Arnett and Sean, and I'm just forgetting his name. But they have this podcast called Smartless, and it's an interview kind of podcast. So they
Mm-hmm.
have they have a guest each episode, and they just talk to one guest. And it's been a lot of really big names, stars, a lot of actors, but not just actors. And we found it. Someone told me about it, and I kind of like Jason Bateman. We kind of just got really into it, and we just listened to a ton of episodes. Probably four on the way up and four on the way down,
Well,
something like that.
is this your first time listening to the podcast?
Yes,
Okay.
that was my first time listening to them. So I'm just trying to find out the specifics on the one guy's name. He was in Will and Grace.
Sean Hayes.
But yeah, oh, Sean Hayes, that's it. Yes. And so it's very funny. It's just like three guys. They kind of like um, they banter a ton, and they kind of just poke little jabs at each other and have fun. They're clearly like deep, friends. And
Mm-hmm.
anyway, it's a cool one to check out. I liked it.
I, you
So
know, I was
it was kind of fun.
I was just thinking about Jason Bateman because the Netflix is just continuously feeding me the latest Ozark. Just kind of nudging me in that direction. And so I see,
Mm-hmm.
he seems to pop up quite a bit on my television. And
Mm-hmm.
so many years ago, oh, so many years ago, we all thought his sister was going to be the star of that family, of the Bateman family, Justine
Mm,
Bateman from
right.
with what's his name?
I'm drawing a blank. I know
Back
exactly
to
what
the
you mean.
Back to the
Yes.
Future guy, right?
Yes. Michael J. Fox.
Michael J. Fox, right? He was his. They
Yeah.
were brother and sister on that show, correct? I believe. Were they?
That sounds right to me.
Do I
That
have the
sounds
right
right to
show? Am
me.
I thinking the right? Is that the right show? Huh. Family Ties. Yes, they were brother and sister on Family Ties. Yeah. Uh,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I
Yes.
mean,
Yes. Yes.
to be fair, 82 to 89. That was a long time ago.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
That was a
I
really
caught.
long. We're old, Danny. Jeez.
I know. I caught the. Thanks for reminding me. I caught the tail end of that show. I remember watching some of the last couple of seasons, but that was a good show.
Even I didn't realize it was 82 to 89. But that was she was I was a teenager. Those were teenage years for me. And
Mm-hmm.
Justine Bateman was kind of, well, I think we're probably close in age. And
Yep.
she was one of the popular gals at that time. We called them gals back in the 80s, Danny.
Yes, Gales. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Family Ties are 100% correct. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
wow. That's such a flashback.
Yeah, and now
Loved it.
her little brother is the star of the family, which is, kind of funny.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, now he's everywhere. He's in everything. And the thing about him,
Mm-hmm.
I just think everything he does is really good. I can't think of something offhand that he was like terrible in. Yeah, he's a stud. I think he's great. He's very funny on the podcast. I definitely recommend giving it a listen.
There you go.
Um,
Recommended by Dan
right.
McMahon.
So we had a lot of road tripping fun with that. So
And
Yeah, it was a great weekend.
this is where we always go sideways, Danny. I know we love talking to each other. Hey, what are you doing? What are you watching? And then this is where our podcast listeners tune out. They're like, "Oh man,
I need you to police me, Joe. So this
I
is exactly you're doing the right thing right
yeah,
now.
no, I have to drive. I realize that I have to. I've got someone has to drive, Danny. What I was thinking
Yes.
about whether, this is we're kind of like on a tandem. This is, I think of it more as like one of those two people bikes where people sit side by side at
Hmm.
in a touristy area. You see them coming and they're hogging the entire sidewalk versus a
Yes.
tandem where one guy is in front and the other one's in back, which seems kind of weird to me. Tandem couples are usually kind of
Yeah,
it's an odd thing. It's not for everybody. I've sold
it.
tandems where people have come back the same day to try to return it because
Oh no, are you serious?
oh yeah, it's a marriage maker or a marriage breaker. The tandem.
Oh, I love it.
Because in
I
theory,
love it.
it sounds like a great idea. It sounds like fun. They can, a couple could go out and ride the roads together. And seek some adventures until, and it's usually the wife sitting in the back until she realizes she's just sitting back there staring at her husband's butt.
Tandem, I just always think of Three's Company, the opening
Oh,
uh, to Three's Company,
what
where
a
Jack Tripper.
what a joyful thought of tandems. That is, I'm going to try to think about Three's Company when I think of tandems in the future. And
That's the,
you know what? From now on, I will actually.
I think that's the first. I'll need fact checking on myself, but I think that's the first tandem I ever remember seeing in life. And
Hmm.
it was on TV, and it was Jack Tripper seeing the two girls on the tandem, and then he crashes off into the sand on the beach
Oh,
because he's staring at them. You remember the famous opening to Three's
come
Company?
and knock on my
Um,
door.
yeah, there you go.
Oh,
So
yes.
anyway, but it's good. You're the driver, and I think we need you to steer the ship in the right direction to
Okay.
mix metaphors from bikes to boats.
So you were down at Cyclocross Worlds in
Yes.
Fayetteville, Arkansas, which I've never given any thought to going down
Hmm.
to Arkansas. I just it's one of those places where what's in Arkansas. And this weekend, a bunch of hipsters found themselves in the middle of what they would consider like nowhere, the middle of nowhere in the past,
Yep.
and
Exactly.
now it's on the map. I mean, that place is something that a place that everybody's talking about, especially the mountain bikers.
It's a beautiful area. I had never been to Arkansas. I may have driven through some of it in the distant past, but doesn't
Hmm.
matter. I basically had never been to Arkansas, like anywhere in the state. And I was calling up my buddy who lives in Phoenix, asking him because he had spent some time in Arkansas, and one of the cool
It's
things there
like
was like, well,
it's like you're going to like a foreign country. It's like, tell me
yeah,
what are those people like? What do they eat?
what do they eat? Gotcha. What currency? Do I need currency at the airport? Like,
Can I change
what's
money?
gonna
Can I
happen?
change money there? Do they accept
Well,
dollars?
it was funny. It's kind of like one of my regular calls with him was that Friday, so I called him on our road trip and just spoke to him briefly. But long story short is he had spent some time in other parts of Arkansas, and he said, "Let me just tell you this: you're going to probably the best spot in all of Arkansas, which is Fayetteville." So he
Hmm.
said, "You're going to love it. It's cool. It's got It's a university town. It's got some really cool spots." And so anyway, it was great. It was beautiful. It was above and beyond my expectations, and we had insanely gorgeous weather. It was around 60 Fahrenheit and sunny the whole entire weekend. We got down there Friday evening, and then we had the racing, 3 races Saturday, 3 races Sunday. And it's fantastic. The
How is the
racing was great.
I was curious about the international crowd. Like, did you see were the Belgian mobs out there and
The tracksuits.
yeah, 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 exactly. I mean,
You just want to ask about the tracksuits. You're being polite. Come on, you can ask
yeah,
about the
yeah. So
tracksuits.
I just I've been to a few I've been to some world championships and some big races, like the Olympics, for example, and things like that, where the Belgians travel heavy, the Italians, the Tifosi
Yes.
sometimes come out, and they're usually they like to dress up. You know, any excuse for a
Yes.
man to dress as a woman, or wear a big wig, oversized glasses,
Sure,
you know,
sure,
wave a
sure.
flag. I mean, just really,
Yep.
just a lot of circus around around those events. How was
Yes.
that?
It was great. They came out. They were there. As you basically implied, like they were traveling over, obviously, and so you wouldn't have the great numbers you would have if it was a local race at home or even nearby, somewhere in Europe. But no, there were a good number of the wild Belgian fans in particular.
Well, the one thing that I don't think American fans fully comprehend, if you've never been to something like the Tour or a World Championship, is just that the sheer amount of booze that is being consumed during the
Hmm.
day. That
Yep.
cycling is, like an excuse for these people to get just plastered,
Yep, day
especially.
drink, binge drink,
Oh
not the healthiest of
no, no.
things, especially when it's a part of a giant sporting event where you
Hmm.
have some of the fittest athletes in the world competing in their peak form of the season.
Yeah.
There's that great contrast. You got the guy chugging some beers. He's got the beer hat, the Homer
Oh
hat with the
yeah,
two
yeah,
beer holders and the
yeah.
straws, and then he's eating fries with all the mayo on top.
Oh
It's great. It's great.
yeah. I mean, entire groups of people they'll rent, or they many of them have these campers, these like
Like
uh,
RVs.
RVs, and then
Hmm.
that's July for them. You know, as the tour,
Yes.
or maybe maybe the Giro, but the tour is perfectly placed, and so is the Vuelta is good that it's a little late in the season. July now is
Hmm.
that's the vacation month for a lot of people in Europe,
Yes.
and so
Yes.
they're just out there, man, and they are on the side of the road, and man, I've gotten caught up in some of those in some of those parties, and man, I did not realize how much drinking was being done on the side of the road
Yes.
there.
It's sobering to put it one way,
Mm-hmm.
to see it. You're kind of like, wow, these people are really getting into it.
Yeah.
Actually, this morning before we left Arkansas to come back here to Chicago, where I am now, ran into kind of, well, didn't run into him, but we had planned to have coffee because he was working the race all weekend. He was shooting as a photographer. So he actually is from New Jersey, but he lives in Geneva, Illinois, and I've known him for a long time. And he's actually now living in Paris.
Mm.
And anyway, he's the penultimate stage on Instagram, and his name is Ethan. And
He
he's
shoots
great.
cycling or all sports in general.
No, it's cycling, and he's
Wow.
got a great story. We should have him on the pod if he'd be so kind someday. But
Mm-hmm.
anyway, he was working all weekend, so I couldn't really get to talk to him, and he was literally just like running around the course, taking all these great photos, and so it was great. We got about 45 minutes today to catch up over coffee. So he flies back to Europe tomorrow. But I mentioned that because it's so funny you said that about the drinking because we're kind of talking about the crowds at the race this weekend, and he's covered a lot of Belgian races now, having been over in Europe for a few years,
Mm-hmm.
where he kind of moved with his family for some years, and he said, what they do in Belgium is like they don't walk around the course. So first of all, there are usually a lot of people at these races, like it's in the tens of thousands sometimes for like world championships,
Mm-hmm.
for example. And he said they will, the kind of quote unquote real Belgian fans, they will take a spot on the course, and then I don't know if they have dibs, but they have like a spot on the course up against the kind of gate, um, and the course tape, whatever it is, and they don't move from that spot the entire race. So whereas here, my penchant and that of others, I think, is to kind of like see the race in one place. Okay, let's move to another place. Let's go to that hill. Let's go to the barriers. Let's go there,
Mm-hmm.
the sandpit, what have you. So they kind of plant themselves there. But he said a lot of them will go to the beer hall, the beer garden, whatever it is, and they just kind of drink and then get their fill of Fritz and mayo and whatever else they're eating, and then they kind of get sauced up, and then they go for the elite races only. So they skip like the junior races, the under 23 races, and they will just go watch the elite women and men only. So he
Ah,
said that's a lot of folks do it there, which is very different from here.
I like that.
But
There,
there
so
you go. That's cyclocross.
they pregame during all the, kind of like the undercard, and then
Yeah,
they show up for the main events.
e- exactly.
Sauced.
It's kind of like our version of like tailgating at
Yeah,
Soldier Field for Bears
absolutely.
games.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, there aren't various games going on. There's just one, obviously, but they're in the parking lot. They're playing frisbee or
Mm-hmm.
cornhole or
Yeah,
bags, whatever you want to call it,
yeah.
and barbecuing and getting their beer on and that sort of thing. And that's kind of like their version of it. So I just thought that was kind of a fascinating insight. I've yet to really see a proper Belgian cross race, which is on my list of things I must do
Well,
in life.
let's put it
So
on the list. Maybe the podcast can pay for that at some point.
yeah, yeah. So. But I tell you, Fayetteville, yeah. Well, let's talk to management. But Fayetteville really put on a great weekend, and even Sarah, who doesn't come from bike
Sarah, your
racing
girlfriend,
nerdery, yes,
your
who
love.
doesn't come from bike racing nerdery like
Mm-hmm.
us, but even I think she would have to say it was a great weekend, and it was very odd to be at a cross race, especially at World Championships when it's 60 and sunny,
Mm-hmm.
but it was a dry course or track, as the cyclocross heads call it. So it was a dry track, and it was very fast. And I heard some reports from my, real like hardcore cyclocross friends. Some of these photographers, for example, saying, the Belgian press was. I think there was some criticism of the worlds here because they said, it was fine, it was okay, but it wasn't cross, it wasn't cyclocross because it was so fast. It wasn't nearly as technical as like the races they get over there.
Mm-hmm.
And the track it was generally really wide. There you can have the really narrow tracks, and it was bone dry for the most part. I think there was a tiny bit of moisture in some places, like in the woods, because there was some freezing overnight and the sun came out, so that kind of thing. But generally, pretty dry. And so, some people using the terms a criterium on grass,
Mm-hmm.
something along those lines. So it definitely was very, very, very fast. The winner was Tom Pidcock,
Mm-hmm.
the Brit, who is also the reigning Olympic mountain biking champion.
Another one of
And so
those
he,
I do it all kind of guy because he's also
yes,
have huge expectations on the road, right? Wow, look at us.
yes.
Listen to us talking about cycling like we know what we're talking about. That was
So
I
apparently,
didn't even have to look that one up.
so apparently his stated goal is to get the triple. So he's got the
Oh.
Olympic mountain bike. He
Mm-hmm.
wants to get the World Cross Gold for cyclocross, which he got yesterday, and then he wants the road gold this summer.
Wow.
Or fall. So yeah, it was Tim Pidcock. He won Great Britain, and then number two and second place was Lars van der Haar,
Oh, of course,
or,
Lars
as they
van der.
call,
That's what I was gonna say, Lars van der Haar. That was my guess.
yeah, or as some call him, Lars van der Harder. He's great, and for the Netherlands. He's an interesting guy. Real quick, like he's had some like killer seasons, and I think more of late he hasn't had the best of seasons and kind of struggled to get back to his top form. But I know in the last couple months, I guess he's had some good results, and so he got second, and then third was this guy Ali Iserbiet, who's a Belgian. And the common denominator is they're all like relatively short, small, compact guys.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one kind of obnoxious gentleman standing near me at the podium ceremony, kind of like screaming like, "You guys are so short," or
Like
but
an American guy heckling the.
no, actually, I want to say he was probably a Dutch speaker would be my first guess.
Huh.
So I don't know if he was Dutch or Belgian or what, but I think he was just trying to be funny, but it kind of came out a little bit like crass, and I think people were cringing a little bit. I don't think anyone heard him beyond the people standing around us because we were pretty far from the
Or
podium.
if
But
you know what, Danny, if he's European, he can say whatever he wants. It's it's not, I always cut those guys a lot of slack. Like some lost in
yeah,
translation thing. I'm sure in his native language, what he was saying, I like to think that it was really funny, but it just comes out as, "Hey,
yeah,
you guys are really short."
yeah.
That's the best he
I
can.
mean,
That's the best he
there
can
is a
muster.
the big kind of story going into the Worlds this year, though, real quick, was for the men, the two stars of the sport. So Wout van Aert and then Mathieu van der Poel. So these are the guys who have been winning the world championships the past few years, just trading every year, kind of off and on. Like you get it this year, I get it next year,
Mm-hmm.
and they've been dominating the sport. Whenever they race, they pretty much win. They're first and second, and then everyone else is kind of fighting for
And
third. But they were not.
that goes for the road as well. Like these guys have been able to cross from cyclocross. They made the move from cyclocross to the road, correct?
No, yeah, cross, no pun intended.
Mm-hmm.
And this year the big news came down that Mathieu van der Poel hurt his back, I believe, and so he's like, I can't do Worlds, and so he pulled out. I don't think he actually raced a ton of cross this season at all, but and then Wout van Aert was crushing the cross races in Belgium, and I think he won the Belgian national jersey this year again. I believe that was a repeat, or that's his second time. I have to fact check myself on that, but he also decided he wasn't going to come to Worlds, which that was kind of like big news because they're the two guys. So I think it's fair to say if they came here, they would have been 1 and 2. The order, who knows? But so that just meant it was opened up, and so now all of a sudden these guys who are normally fighting for racing for third are racing for first.
Nice.
So that made it really cool. Pidcock is somewhere, in my opinion, kind of between Wout van Aert and Mathieu van der Poel, and then these other guys. He's kind of like, I don't think he's quite as good as Wout and Mathieu, but he's pretty close, and he might be there now. But anyway, and then in the women's elite race, Marianne Vos won. I think that was like almost her 10th. Like she won like 8. That's like her 8th world cyclocross title, which is phenomenal.
And she's another racer who just wins road, cyclocross. I mean, it doesn't really matter. She can win everywhere, correct?
You're absolutely right. And,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people say she's the best cyclist ever. Not best female, but just best cyclist, period. So better than Eddie Merckx. She's clearly the best female rider of all time. And then, so again, some people argue.
You know what? She'll never replace a Jeannie Longo for me. You know.
Oh, okay. There you go. Yeah,
Jeannie Longo will always have my heart.
Yeah, well, a
little angry French woman,
Yeah, there you go.
She was a little pissy, a little angry. She had a little attitude.
Mm-hmm.
I always liked her.
That's a throwback, man. You got me with that one. I was like, oh yeah, Longo. I remember her.
Jeannie Longo, come on, Jeannie Longo, man. She won. She used to win everything.
She pretty much won everything, and she raced a really long career.
She did.
Mm-hmm. She was racing super late, which is phenomenal, So Marianne Vos beat Lucinda Brandt. That was an interesting race. The real quick highlight, I guess, is they pulled away fairly early in the race, and it was just a 2-woman race from then on.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty much all the laps after the first couple laps, it was just those two, and they were racing just right on each other's wheels. And then it was like the field behind them, like a good bit back, and they were racing for like third and that sort of thing. But there was a little bit of controversy because Sven Nys, who's like, anyone who follows the sport knows Sven Nys is like considered one of the best riders of all time, maybe the best male rider in the sport of cyclocross. So, he had some kind of comment where I think he was basically saying there was like a wheel sucker situation with Marianne Vos kind of sitting on Lucinda's wheel, and Lucinda probably did a lot, way too much work. And Vos just was able to take advantage with like some cunning kind of strategery. And at the very end, he just kind of sprinted past her. And Vos has a strong track background as well. So, she's got one of the best sprints in the sport. And, that kind of wheel sucking, argument has been around forever. I remember Cancellara was leading Milan San Remo down the Via Roma that one year. And who was the Aussie rider who Simon Gerrans was sitting on his wheel, and Cancellara wanted to come around, and Simon Gerrans wouldn't, and he just was tactically astute, and then at the last second just sprinted by and won. And there was some controversy around that, like he didn't deserve to win, he was wheel sucking and all this kind of stuff. But anyway, there was a little bit of an element, a storyline there, if you will, from Sunday, but.
They should have practiced the shake and bake, made famous in made famous in American Flyers. Had they grown up in America watching the
There
movies
you
that we
go.
did, they would have learned about the shake and bake. You know,
Oh man,
hey
they
you
should have.
wheel
They should have.
suckers! Hey you wheel suckers! We
And
all
if they
learned
had a
that. We
dog,
all we all
if they had
learned
a
that,
dog chasing
and
them.
we practiced it. Remember that?
That's right.
Oh, we practiced the
Uh
shake
huh.
and bake, and then the dog coming out and helping you with your the
I was gonna say with your sprint.
hmm Yeah, that's the way American bike racers. Had Cancellara grown up here, that would not have
Yeah.
happened to him.
Oh man, that's a sweet reference. We got to watch that movie together. So to finish up with the women, so that was, I mean, it was still a thrilling race. Lucinda Brandt is awesome. I think
I
she
love your
obviously had.
dedication, Danny, and your focus because you without I interrupt you and you just keep going. You just you are driven to give us the news. Go for it.
I
Go
feel
go
I
for
feel
it.
like I just want to
No,
give a
you're
complete mini
you're not
report.
the cycling reporter for nothing. I
That's
understand.
right.
This is your place.
Well,
I gotta give
you
it
know
to you.
what's funny? You know
Hmm
what's funny? Fair play. What's funny is I still have kind of like a charge going through my body. Like I still have like the energy. After like a great ride or a race, like
Uh huh.
you're kind of like, what's the word? You're kind of like you still have that electricity going through you
Sure.
for a while,
Uh
right?
huh.
Before it wears out.
Wow.
And I kind of have that a little bit, but like in the sense like I just watched all this like world class racing, 6 races in 2 days, and so get that kind of charge, that euphoria. But
It is, and to be fair, it is. There's something to it, to seeing it, and I think you ran into a couple of my employees there because there were a
yes,
couple of my I sent a I sent some representatives from the bike shop down to Fayetteville to partake in the events,
yes,
and
you
and
did.
just to see them and to be around that because they're
Mm-hmm.
young. They're just kind of actually they one started in the shop last summer. Um, and another one just started working over the winter. And she's basically in training. And um, we went to the national championships that were held here locally in the
Mm-hmm.
Chicagoland area, and
Mm-hmm.
we ran into you there, right? We saw you there, and
Mm-hmm.
and they were
Beautiful DuPage County.
yeah, DuPage County out here in
I
Illinois,
like to
and
say it. I like to say it with a little French flair.
yeah,
You'll have to excuse me.
it sounds sexier
DuPage.
that way. Yes, it sounds kind of
Well, it's
unobtainable, like something far away.
exactly.
Um, but they were very excited. When they saw it locally, I mean, they'd never seen cyclocross up close, and I don't think that they were even aware of the sport. Uh, you know, that there was a sport that involved running and cycling. That's how new they are and
Right.
kind of how green they are to the world of competitive
It's an
cycling.
exciting time. I'm kind of envious in a way because like to relearn it all is really cool. I tell you, when I saw them, they just had this glow. I
Hmm
swear, they just had this glow, and they loved it.
But they
But
were they
they
were
had,
excited to see
they,
the races, and just to
yep.
be you know, to be down there and we have done it. We've been to a lot of these types of events and big events, big cycling events. I mean, you've been at the tour on a bus, and it's
Hmm.
you forget about it because our first experience, our first interaction with something like that was 25 or 30 years ago. Um, but
Hmm.
uh, but while putting this show together, both of both you and I have been digging through our box of memories and coming across photos and things like that. And I was really
Yep.
reminded. It was a kind of a reminder that there was a time when all this stuff was new to us, and it was really
Hmm.
exciting to go
Hmm.
ask Davis Finney for his gloves. It's like,
Oh,
may I
yes.
may I have your bloody gloves, sir, good sir? And he gave them to me. He gave them. I have a pair of Davis Finney's.
Oh,
Uh,
you
oh
do?
yeah, yeah. He gave them to me
Oh,
his 7-Eleven gloves when he was
oh,
racing.
that is so
He
cool.
was
That you
racing
should
at a
you
crit
should
here.
frame those. I'm not kidding. You should literally frame
They're
those.
bloodied, and they are bloodied.
I love it.
He sustained a lot. That guy crashed a lot.
Well, that's
Davis
Kurt
Finney.
guy. I mean,
Yeah.
Kurt guys, as they say, it's not will you crash? It's when, or
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Oh,
two types of riders.
he also
Yeah, guys
crashed.
who've crashed and guys who are about to
He
crash.
also crashed into the back of a station wagon in Europe.
Oh
Remember?
yes,
Horrible,
yes, yes, yes.
horrible, horrible crash. That was a rough. That was a rough one.
I think he had a million stitches, and yeah,
Mm-hmm.
he went smack into the back of
Face first. Yeah, he
the,
like flew into the back
glass
of.
window of the back
Yeah,
of a car. Yeah.
yeah, that was a.
Well, speaking of, who did I see in the coffee shop today leaving Fayetteville was Taylor Finney, his son.
He was at the
He,
races,
uh,
huh?
he was. So here's the funny thing. So Alan Lim was in there, who was a former.
Doctor
Well, he's
for
now.
right?
Yeah, well,
Doctor Alan Lim.
yeah, yeah, and he has been kind of I don't know, I forget what his exact title is. I know that he owns Scratch Labs now. It's like his nutrition
Mm-hmm.
kind of company, and he's affiliated with USA Cycling. I'm not sure if he's a consultant or what he is, but he had his USA Cycling the official jacket on, and he
Oh.
was doing something with the USA Cycling team. I believe that was his role here at Worlds. But point being, he was here. I saw him, and I saw Taylor Finney. Taylor Finney was kind of incognito. That's the word that I think Cycling Tips used.
Mm.
I saw him, but I didn't see him at the races. Like in hindsight, I'm like, oh, that was Taylor. So he wasn't dressed in his kind of usual way. He was kind of a little incognito and just kind of having fun. And I saw he tweeted like one or two things from the race, I guess, and it was all good. But he was kind of playing it low key. I think he just maybe wanted to enjoy the scene and not be kind of too bogged down with whatever autographs and selfies and all that. But
Does he look like
um,
does he look like a normal human being these days? Like has he filled out? Is he like a normal size or does it
no,
look like
no,
he's
he
still
no,
riding?
no, he's definitely still writing. I happen
Mm-hmm.
to just coincidentally follow him a lot. I just think he's a really interesting character.
Mm-hmm.
He's really into like this. I don't know what you would call it. It's kind of like BMX. He's kind of riding like these. You know those like early mountain bikes, like the really early ones, like going back to just like what do they call them, the clunkers or something, like
Mm-hmm.
those. They were like basically like simple bikes, but they'd throw these big like knobby tires
Yeah, they
underneath,
were
kind of like the
Schwinn
early
old
mountain
Schwinn
bikes.
cruisers that they were just putting like BMX bars and stuff on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So he's I don't know if that's exactly what he's writing, but bikes that are kind of in that same vein. And so you could check it out on his Instagram. But yeah, and he's I know that he's like not doing a lot of road riding. He's kind of like really happy to just have a big break from all that. There's a whole story with his like early retirement and that sort of thing. But yeah, no, he's still riding and he still looks fit. And his girlfriend, I believe they're still, I don't believe they're married. I think they're still boyfriend girlfriend, but she is still racing as a World Tour pro. She's the Polish national champ, I believe. Anyway, so he was there. I actually bumped into, had a couple celebrity sightings. I saw Lars Boom. I had a quick photo with him. He's I think a two-time world cyclocross champion. He won that Tour de France stage, the quote-unquote Paris-Roubaix stage of the Tour de France. A few, several years back, that epic stage. So anyway, he was there, I think, supporting, I believe, the Dutch team.
Hmm.
So that was really cool. I was always like a fan of his.
Did
And
you just did you recognize him when you saw him, or was he?
instantly. I've
Huh.
seen him a lot at the tour
Uh
and
huh.
stuff, and it was just cool to see him. And I don't know, I got this little sense that I mean, he's a very humble, cool guy, as far as I know. I don't know him well, but I got this little sense he was with like his buddy, and I got this little sense that when I was like, hey, can I get your photograph? Like, I think he was kind of like, oh, someone recognized me. Like, this is cool.
We talked about famous Europeans in the United States on one of the earlier shows, and how much they enjoy being in the United States because for the most part they fly under the radar. They can just kind of
Yes.
they have kind of a normal. They're like nobody's asking them. But every once in a while, there is there will be that one guy. There will be you and maybe maybe one or two others that recognize them, and it's just enough. It's just like you
Yes.
reassure them that they are the people that they are, but that they can go back to being kind of blending.
Yep.
Hmm.
Yep. And my interaction with him was like 12 seconds long. He had a
Yep.
quick photo, and I was like, great to see you. He's like, thanks, guys. And it was really cool. And then I also saw T-Bone Nice. I had a quick selfie with him because I'm that cheesy guy that will actually do I always ask for the
You
selfie
know,
just for fun.
I
I'm
love.
shameless. I'm shameless. I'm gonna own it. I'm gonna own it.
You know what? Embrace it, man. To be
I
this
I have totally
to
embraced it.
to to continue to be this excited about a sport after all these
Hmm.
years, I think it's really cool. I've drifted a little bit from the competitive side of it. I've I'm following it more now. Now that maybe now that I'm riding a bike, and maybe that's part of it is that I wasn't riding very much, and so
Hmm.
seeing all these really fit guys, just I don't know if it was just you know instinctual thing just not to watch it because I'm nowhere. I can't even ride a bike. And something that
Right.
I should not even be thinking about. In the shape that I was
Right.
in, and now that I'm riding again, I'm certainly watching it and paying attention to it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
It was a great weekend. We had so much fun. I got tons of stories for another time, but we just had a fun time. It was great that you had your posse down there. That was
Mm-hmm.
so much fun. We'll talk about this in detail later, I think. But there was such a cool atmosphere as I always find at these races. And it was so cool to see the variety of riders. And I think a lot of it's interesting because it's a little bit challenging. Like there are only probably 3 or 4 guys or 3 or 4 women who are going to be on that podium who have kind of a shot almost.
Sure.
Maybe you could be generous and say it's like 6 or 7, but nonetheless, the field is what 30, 40, 50 or bigger. There are a lot of folks there racing. For other goals, they're racing to improve. They want to get top 20
Mm-hmm.
because they were 25th last year or something like that. And the participation is everything, and they're out there working so hard, and they've worked so hard to get there. And it was really cool to see because after a while the races spread out so much, but you start to like really focus in on each rider after a while because you see them for like 6, 7, 8 laps depending.
Mm-hmm.
And there were riders there. There was a rider there from Costa Rica, and he was like the last guy,
Wow.
and he I think he got as much applause and cheering and enthusiasm from the crowd than the leaders did.
Yeah.
And he's like this only guy from Costa Rica, and he's at the back, obviously a great cyclist, but he's not at that Euro level.
Mm-hmm.
And then there were 2 guys from Mexico. There were two
Wow.
Mexican cyclocross riders in the elite men.
Uh-huh.
And by the way, I love their kit. Love their kit.
Really? Hmm.
And then there were 2 guys from Spain, at least 2 riders from
Yeah, I did
Spain.
see some photos from
Um,
the Spanish team. Mm-hmm.
and there was a guy from Israel, and there was someone, and just their whole variety. And it has that really international flavor. And it wasn't just the Belgians or the Dutch. I mean, they're crowding the top 10, but it was great to kind of almost forget about things for like 48 hours. It was just people having fun, walking around. It was outside, so it felt pretty safe. And it was like world class athletes and this great event and good food. Had some beers, walked around a ton. I got my steps in, that's for sure. We walked that course like 5 times. I
Uh-huh.
swear we walked like 10, 15 miles this weekend easy. But it was just great to kind of forget about things for a while and just be out there. And yeah, it was great. And
Yeah,
the only
and to
thing
be
the
and to
only
be
thing that was missing, Joe, was you.
it's fine. Stay back here, do a little bit of work, Danny. Keep the shop running, and then and working on this little podcast thing we have going on. Hopefully, this will lead to, give us the opportunity to visit some of those events and do some of those
I was gonna
things.
say
Hmm.
next time I'm dragging you there. That's for sure.
Oh, for sure, for sure. I mean,
Because you could have helped me uh, figure out the right cheers for the Mexican riders, for example,
oh, for yeah,
with your beautiful Spanish
all of them. Yeah, for all of them.
and the
Yeah.
Spanish riders in particular.
Hmm.
I was using some of my Czech for the Czech riders. Hopefully they maybe heard it and appreciated it. I was just kind of screaming "go go go" in Czech and this sort of
Hmm.
thing. And yeah, so next time we got to put all our resources together.
Where is this year's World's Road
Oh,
Championship?
I'm forgetting. I should know this. I'm forgetting. Sorry. I'm still following it from afar a bit, but I'm not as close up to it as normal.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's just kind of normal for me. Some years I'm more into it because I have more time, and other times I'm just busier, like with pandemic and family and work and stuff. Sometimes it just I don't have as much time to follow it. But it's a
Oh,
long answer to say I'm not sure. But
Sydney,
maybe we can go to Worlds.
Good. Thank you for killing a little
Oh,
time. Sydney, Australia.
See what I did there?
Yeah,
Maybe
no, that
some
was good. I
interesting-
didn't see. I just let you. I'm like talk while I find this thing.
Wait, is that this year? Are you sure
Yeah.
it's 2022?
18
Okay.
to 25. 18 to from the 18th to the 25th of September, 2022, in
okay.
Sydney, Australia. Wow.
Oof,
So-
that's gonna be that's a long ride, huh?
That is
Long
that's
journey?
that's a long journey. That's spring there, in
Yeah.
September. So.
What's I wonder what 23 is. I don't know if they've announced the 23 road worlds yet, but
I'm sure these things are usually 2-3 years out in
Yeah.
advance. So
well, we'll go to something, that's for sure.
we'll
Maybe
find
we could
something.
we'll start something.
Maybe we'll have
it
a-
won't be in this.
we'll have a
States
view.
for a
Oh,
while.
Glasgow.
Ooh,
Really?
see, I would
In
go to that.
Scotland. Really?
That would be
2023?
fun. There
Scotland.
you go. Actually, now that you say it, I remember the headline about it not too long ago. So yeah, we
Huh.
should go. We should go there because we can go. While we're in the UK, we could pop over to Ireland, maybe. I don't know. We should go.
Sure, you got friends there. Yeah, we got time to plan that. 2020,
Yeah, we can
2023.
crash some relatives' places and
Have some haggis. Haggis. Is that
So-
haggis, right? Is that where they do
Yeah,
the haggis?
So I think haggis. Yes, you're right. I was thinking of Vegemite for a second of
That's
Australia.
Australia. Yeah,
but
there
no.
we can have that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So you're right. Haggis up in Scotland. I've never had it. I'm not sure how good it is, but I would definitely try it. I'll pretty much try anything.
That's us just being the bad American tourist. That's because that's all we know. Haggis. What's that? We're gonna eat haggis. Where,
Well, there's some
where
great
does Sean
haggis from
Connery
from
live?
Scotland. That's right. Yeah. Oh, we're gonna be those guys. Oh no.
That's all I know.
We're
You
gonna
wear-
be banned.
You
They're
wear
gonna kick
underwear
us out
under
of the
that
country.
skirt? You wear underwear under
They're
that skirt? Cold under there?
We're gonna
Oh.
we're gonna get kicked out.
Oh, right away. Right away.
So fantastic event in Fayetteville. Congrats, Fayetteville, and all the people who put all that crazy work into it. This is final note. Like so much goes into that. Like even just like some of my photographer friends. Like so cool to know them and understand a little bit how things work behind the scenes. But these guys traveled from like some of them from Europe, and
Mhm.
my one buddy was just saying like, yeah, he lived in Illinois for 5 years and he's from the East Coast, and just like little things, he's like, I thought the flight was just in my head, like he was just kind of like thinking it was like a 7-hour flight from Paris, and no, he's going to Dallas and he's got to change there up to Arkansas, and he's like, just the flight to Dallas was like 10 hours from Paris, and
Wow.
he kind of realized that when he sat on the plane. It's just like these little details.
Talk
but,
about
like,
talk about culture shock.
yeah. Well,
Like
so much
CDG Paris
Yeah.
to
there you
Dallas,
go.
and then from Dallas to Fayetteville, and then you're in Fayetteville like 12
Yep.
hours later. You're like,
He was scrambling a little bit to get his official test, because to fly back, of course, you have to have a kind of an official test with an official kind of result, positive. A negative test result, that is. And he was trying to find the test for that, and you have to bring that documentation in a timely fashion before your flight. So, it's not like you could just get an at-home test. So he was going around for that, and I've heard stories of people being pulled out of. They were in line for their European flights, and they were pulled out of line saying they can't fly because their test would expire in flight. So for us to drive down, even though it was the longest drive, like it was pretty easy compared to what a lot
what
of
are you
other people
complaining
doing.
about, Danny? Come on, 10 hours.
Nothing.
10 hours
Nothing
and a
at
lot
all.
of fun and inspiration and all the rest that you just mentioned. So, yeah, cool.
We had a great time.
Thanks for giving us the download on just walking in the door at your crib there. So,
Absolutely, anytime, Joe.
well, yeah, and we killed two. If this actually makes it as a podcast, then we actually accomplished a technical test, and we're hoping to at some point be able to call people and talk to them and add a guest or two to the show.
And I won't spoil anything for anyone, including us. But I will talk to you later about this. But I think we might have a really interesting first guest.
Is it President Obama?
I'm really busy. I got the book tour, and I'd love to come on your Bike Shop Society podcast. I'd love to ride a bike, but I got Michelle wants me to write another book, and we're gonna do a tour. Sorry, it's my Obama.
That's good. Work on it.
impersonation.
It's good. That was, I hated putting you on the spot there, but I know you do a great Obama.
But it's not quite Obama, although that would be amazing, obviously, obs. But it is a really cool personality, and we'll talk more next
No,
time.
no,
Just
that's
a little
fine. Yeah,
little teaser.
This is good. This is good. Well, thanks, and this is a behind the scenes, a peek at how we make the sausage. Yeah, that's it. Good night.
Thank you, Joe.
See you, Danny.
Adios.
Adios.